Your partner just walked into the room. They see you on your phone. The dishes are piled in the sink. The laundry basket is overflowing. The mail you promised to sort through 3 days ago is still sitting on the counter untouched. And in their eyes, you see it. That look. The one that says you don't care, that you're lazy, that if you really love them, you'd just get up and do the thing. But here's what they don't see. They don't see the invisible wall between you and that sink. They don't see the paralysis. The way your brain is screaming at you to move, to start, to do literally anything, and your body just won't. They don't see the shame crushing your chest or the voices in your head listing every time you've tried and failed before. They see someone scrolling social media. You feel someone drowning. And the worst part, you can't explain it, because how do you prove that you're not lazy when all the evidence points to exactly that? My partner used to think I was lazy too, and I spent years trying to defend myself, trying to justify why I couldn't do basic things that seemed effortless for everyone else. It nearly destroyed us. But then I learned how to explain what was actually happening in my brain, not as an excuse, as an education, and everything changed. This is how I finally made them understand. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact words to do the same. Let's start with what your partner sees. Because if we're being honest, from the outside, ADHD looks a lot like not caring. They see you forget their birthday after they reminded you twice. They see you start 10 projects and finish none. They see you play video games for 4 hours straight but can't fold laundry for 10 minutes. They see you promise to call the insurance company, to book the dentist appointment, to reply to that email, and then watch you do none of it, day after day after day. And here's the thing, they're not wrong about what they're seeing. You are sitting there. The tasks aren't getting done. From their perspective, the math is simple. If you cared, you'd do it. If it mattered, you'd try harder. If you loved them, you wouldn't keep letting them down. But they're missing the invisible half of the equation. What's happening inside your brain? Because what they're calling laziness is actually something called executive dysfunction. And it's not about effort. It's not about caring. It's about the neurological systems that allow you to start, organize, and complete tasks. And in ADHD, those systems don't work the same way. Executive dysfunction means the part of your brain responsible for planning, prioritizing, initiating action, and following through is compromised. It's like trying to run a marathon with a sprained ankle. You want to move. You're trying to move. But the mechanism that turns intention into action is broken. And here's where it gets even more confusing for your partner. You're not consistently incapable. Some days you can do the thing. Some tasks you can crush. If something is interesting or urgent or novel, your brain lights up and you're unstoppable. But if it's boring, repetitive, or emotionally loaded, you hit a wall. A neurological wall. Not a motivational one. Your partner doesn't have that wall. For them, motivation works like a light switch. They decide to do something. They feel a little resistance maybe, but then they just do it. For you, motivation is more like trying to start a car in freezing weather with no battery. You're turning the key over and over, but nothing's happening. And from the outside, it looks like you're not even trying. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you're sitting there, frozen, while your partner is getting more and more frustrated. The ADHD brain has a dopamine regulation problem. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that helps your brain recognize rewards, process motivation, and take action toward goals. It's the chemical that says, "This is worth doing. Let's go." In a neurotypical brain, dopamine is released in predictable amounts in response to tasks, even boring ones, because the brain can anticipate the reward of completion. But in the ADHD brain, dopamine is dysregulated. It doesn't fire reliably for everyday tasks. Your brain doesn't get that little hit of, "This is worth it," that makes starting feel possible. Brain imaging studies have shown that adults with ADHD have decreased activity in the dopamine reward pathways. This isn't a character flaw. It's a measurable neurological difference. Your brain literally doesn't experience motivation the same way a neurotypical brain does. So, when your partner says, "Just do the dishes," what they don't understand is that just requires a neurochemical process that your brain struggles to produce. It's like telling someone with depression to just be happy, or someone with anxiety to just calm down. The gap between intention and action isn't about willpower, it's about brain chemistry. Now let's add another layer. It's not just the dopamine deficit, it's the emotional weight that builds up around every undone task. ADHD researchers and coaches call this the wall of awful. And once you understand it, so much of your paralysis will finally make sense. Every time you try to do a task and fail, your brain files that away as a negative experience. Every time you forget something important, disappoint someone, or start something you can't finish, that's another brick in the wall. Shame, guilt, embarrassment, fear of failing again, fear of being judged, fear of proving once again that you're not capable. And here's the brutal part. Neurotypical people have walls too. But for people with ADHD, our walls are higher, denser, older, because we've been failing at simple tasks our entire lives. We've been told we're lazy, careless, irresponsible, unmotivated since childhood. So by the time we're adults, the wall between us and a sink full of dishes isn't just about washing plates. It's about every time we've been told we're not enough. So when your partner sees you frozen, what's really happening is this. Your brain isn't producing the dopamine you need to initiate the task, and the task itself is hidden behind a wall built from years of shame and failure. You're not scrolling your phone because you don't care. You're scrolling because it's the only thing your brain can do that doesn't require you to scale that wall. And here's the part that confuses your partner the most. Why can you hyper-focus on a video game or a hobby for hours, but you can't do 10 minutes of laundry? Because the ADHD brain runs on what's called an interest-based nervous system. Neurotypical brains are motivated by importance, rewards, and consequences. ADHD brains are motivated by interest, novelty, urgency, and challenge. If something is boring or routine, your brain doesn't produce the activation energy needed to start. But if something is engaging or new or high stakes, dopamine floods the system and suddenly you're capable of intense focus. This is why you can stay up all night researching a random topic but can't respond to a work email. It's why you can deep clean the garage when inspiration strikes but can't put away groceries when asked. It's not selective laziness. It's how your brain is wired. But your partner doesn't know any of this. And they're hurt, they're frustrated, they're starting to resent you. And you're starting to resent yourself. So how do you explain this to them in a way they'll actually understand? Here's the exact script I used. You can adapt it to fit your relationship, but these are the words that finally got through. Start with this. Sit down with your partner when you're both calm. Not in the middle of a fight. Not when the dishes are overflowing. In a neutral moment when you both have the emotional space to actually hear each other. Say this. I need to talk to you about something. That's been really hard for me to put into words. I know it looks like I'm lazy or that I don't care about the things you ask me to do. I know I've let you down a lot. And I need you to know that's not what's happening. I'm not choosing not to do things. I have a neurological condition called executive dysfunction, and it makes starting and finishing tasks incredibly difficult for my brain. I'm not asking you to excuse my behavior. I'm asking you to understand what's actually happening so we can work on it together. Pause here. Let them respond. They might be defensive. They might say, everyone struggles with motivation sometimes. That's okay. That's actually your opening to go deeper. Say this. I know everyone procrastinates sometimes, but this is different. Imagine you're trying to walk through a doorway, and every time you get close, an invisible force field pushes you back. You can see the doorway. You want to go through it, but your body just won't move. That's what executive dysfunction feels like. It's not that I don't want to do the dishes or reply to that email. It's that my brain won't let me start. And the more I try and fail, the harder it gets, because every failure adds to this wall of shame and fear that makes the next attempt even more impossible. Use a metaphor they'll relate to. If they're into cars, say, it's like my brain's battery is drained and I'm trying to start the engine by sheer willpower. It doesn't matter how much I want to go. The car won't start. If they're into technology, say, it's like my brain is a computer with half the RAM it needs. I can run 1 or 2 programs, but if you ask me to open another one, the whole system freezes. Then explain the dopamine piece. Say this. The part of my brain that produces motivation works differently than yours. There's a neurotransmitter called dopamine that helps people feel motivated and take action. In ADHD, dopamine doesn't fire the same way. So when you say, just do it, my brain literally doesn't have the chemical signal it needs to make that happen. It's not about willpower, it's about brain chemistry. Now here's the most important part. Make it clear this is an explanation, not an excuse. Say this: I'm not telling you this so you'll stop asking me to do things or so I can avoid responsibility. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand that I'm not failing on purpose. I'm struggling with something neurological, and I need your help figuring out how to work with my brain instead of against it. If they push back and say, but you can focus when you want to, here's what you say. You're right. I can hyperfocus on some things. That's actually part of ADHD. My brain is wired to respond to interest and urgency, not importance. So if something is engaging or new, my brain produces the dopamine I need and I can focus intensely. But if something is routine or boring, my brain doesn't fire the same way, even if I know it's important. It's not a choice, it's how ADHD works. And I'm working on strategies to manage it, but I need you to understand it's not about caring more or trying harder. And with this, I love you. I don't want to keep hurting you or disappointing you, but I also need you to stop seeing this as a character flaw. It's a neurological condition, and if we can work together to find systems and accommodations that help my brain function better, I think we can get through this. But I can't keep defending myself every time my brain doesn't work the way yours does. I need you to believe me. That's the script, word for word. It's vulnerable. It's honest. And it draws a clear line between explanation and excuse. But words alone might not be enough. Your partner might still need proof. So here are 4 concrete ways to demonstrate that what you're dealing with is real, not laziness. 1. Show them the pattern. Sit down together and map out the tasks you struggle with and the tasks you don't. If it were laziness, it would be consistent. You'd avoid everything. But executive dysfunction is selective in a specific way. It hits hardest on tasks that are boring, repetitive, emotionally loaded, or abstract. Show them that you're not avoiding effort. You're avoiding the tasks your brain can't process. That pattern is evidence. 2. Share resources. Send them this video. Send them articles about ADHD and executive dysfunction. Let them hear it from someone other than you. Sometimes a partner needs external validation to understand that this is a real, documented, researched condition. Make it collaborative. Say, I'd love for us to learn about this together. 3. Invite them to observe your hyperfocus. The next time you're deep into something you're passionate about, point it out. Say, this is what my brain looks like when it has enough dopamine. I'm not lazy. I'm capable of intense focus. I just can't control when my brain decides to cooperate. Let them see that motivation isn't the issue. Brain chemistry is. 4. Propose accommodations and experiments. Say, let's try some things that might help my brain work better. Can you be my body double while I do the dishes? Can we set a timer and work side by side for 15 minutes? Can you give me verbal reminders instead of expecting me to remember on my own? Show them you're actively trying to solve the problem, not hide behind a diagnosis. If your partner loves you, they'll meet you halfway. But you have to give them the tools to understand what halfway looks like. Because here's the truth. You're not asking them to lower their standards. You're not asking them to become your parent or your manager. You're asking them to see your brain for what it is. Different, not broken, not lazy, different. And once they understand that, everything shifts. The resentment softens. The frustration turns into curiosity. Instead of, why won't you just do it? It becomes, what do you need to make this easier? Instead of, you don't care, it becomes, your brain works differently and we'll figure this out together. That's the relationship you deserve. One where you're not constantly defending yourself, where you're understood, not judged, where your partner sees your effort, even when the outcome doesn't match it. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not failing on purpose. You have a neurological condition that makes certain tasks incredibly difficult, and the people who love you deserve to know that. Not so they'll excuse you, so they'll understand you, and once they do, you can finally stop fighting alone.